Natural Breastfeeding for an Easier Start, developed by Teresa Nesbitt, RN, MD, and Nancy Moorbacher, IBCLC, FILCA. Natural breastfeeding is breastfeeding for beginners. A birth isn't just about new babies. It's also about a new mother. We know you are deeply committed to giving your little one the healthiest possible start in life, and that means breastfeeding. The problem is, although more than 85% of expectant mothers plan to breastfeed, the majority aren't really adequately prepared to get off to a good start. The shocking reality is that 92% of first-time mothers report significant difficulties breastfeeding within 3 days after birth. Over and over, they reported the same problems: nipple pain, difficulty latching, and concerns about inadequate milk production. The sad result is that feeling overwhelmed is the norm, and many new mothers turn to the bottle because they feel they have no other option. But Mother Nature provided babies with all the instincts and abilities needed to breastfeed successfully. We just need to remember, although newborns are quite helpless, they aren't completely helpless. In fact, almost any newborn is able to maneuver their way up mother's body and latch onto a nipple without any assistance from moms or medical staff within an hour after birth. In this sense, we're just like all other mammals. Compared to older babies, newborns face special nursing challenges. They have large heads and weak muscles. Newborns are like turtles. Put them on their back and they struggle and flail. Flip them over and their movements are more coordinated and purposeful, just like our newborn babies. We know you love your baby. Would you like to learn to love breastfeeding? We can show you how. I'm Dr. Teresa Nesbitt, an OBGYN physician and women's wellness doctor. Nancy Moorbacher, the well-known breastfeeding expert, lactation consultant, and best-selling author, and I teamed up out of friendship and frustration. We knew that the biggest issue for new mothers is that most of them have never seen a newborn actually nursing at the breast. Mothers don't learn from lactation literature. They learn by watching. That's how human brains work. We understand that moms learn best when they are able to see natural breastfeeding in action. That's why we film these videos. Babies should go from in you to on you. Dr. Teresa explains why natural breastfeeding gives you an easier start.
Yeah.
So the natural breastfeeding that we're teaching you to do is what to do kind of when the baby can't do anything and it's really, really tiny like this. By the time the baby gets this big, which isn't super big, but these babies can look around and root around. They can hold their body up, they can hold their head up, and they can breastfeed in a whole lot of different ways. They're quite efficient about it. So the main questions that we have when we get started is, why do we need to even do this at all? And I call it like the training wheels. When you start to ride a bicycle, training wheels can give you confidence and protect you from some of the worst bumps and scrapes until you kind of got the idea of it. And that will occur at a little bit different time for different people, but as soon as you've kind of got it together, you don't use the training wheels anymore. They might still be on, but you can go on to the other options. So we think of natural breastfeeding for newborns as this time that helps you get past the period where it's easier to not know what you're doing. So we kind of give you this recipe. If you put the baby on you, rather than hold the baby and try and feed the baby, but let the baby eat the way that they're supposed to, the way that nature helps them be able to balance their head, then when the baby helps, it doesn't hurt. Natural breastfeeding a newborn is easy and effective. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3. Adjust your body, adjust your baby, adjust your breasts. Now, watch as Nancy uses a doll to explain to first-time expectant mothers, Essie and Marivelle, the basics of natural breastfeeding.
Newborns need a lot of extra help in the beginning to get on the breast and feed well. And I think sometimes even with a second baby, mothers sometimes forget how much help a newborn needs. And so the natural breastfeeding positions just make it way easier for the baby. So, so I'd like to tell you a little bit more about some of the adjustments that you can make when you're using natural breastfeeding, because there's really 3 areas that we talk about adjusting. One of them is adjusting your body. And so, you know, I showed you how you could do it in a chair, but why don't you go ahead and get adjusted here in the couch as if you were going to do a natural breastfeeding position. So just move your hips forward.
You do what I do. You go right for the corner.
That's good. Okay. That's good. Okay. So part of the adjusting your body is figuring out, you know, what angle you want to, how far back you want to angle. And you'll know when the baby goes on your body if you've got a good angle or not. You know, one of the ways here, let me give you the baby. So for example, if the baby is resting comfortably on your body and is not falling away, then that's a good sign that you've got a good angle that's going to work for natural breastfeeding. Okay. So why don't you actually pull your hips forward a little bit more. Let's see if you can get a little bit more there.
Oh, that's a lot more comfortable.
Oh, there you go. So see, that's the other thing. Another part of adjusting your body is figuring out a position where you can relax all your muscles. So like in this case here, you can, now we have an extra pillow over there. Let me have that. I noticed that you're holding your arm up here. So see, that's something you don't want to be doing. So go ahead and lean back. If you're going to be using your arm as a head support for your baby, you want to make sure that you've got something under your elbow so that you can, again, relax that. You don't want tense shoulders, you know, or tensed arms. So why don't you try scooting forward just a little bit more and see how that feels. Is that good?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so see, you'll be able to know from your own comfort. So, so adjusting your body is the first adjustment. And now the second adjustment is adjusting your baby. And that involves a couple different things. It involves, you know, the baby can actually go to the breast from a lot of different angles. Now you've got your baby kind of straight up and down on your body here. But for example, if you move the baby so the baby's more diagonally, you know, that's another angle. You could even move the baby over so the baby's resting on your other breast. You know, so it's kind of straight across there. And if you've had a cesarean, obviously you would want to avoid having the baby's weight on your incision. You could even, and just to show us for fun, put the baby's feet over your shoulder. You know, you could even have your baby on your body that way. Of course, you know, that probably isn't going to be your first choice. Yeah. But you know, any actual angle, because the breast is a circle, you know, you could do any of those. And so some women find one seems to work better for their baby or for them. And some make adjustments even in the middle of the feeding because it just feels more comfortable to do that. So the other part of adjusting your baby is making sure that your baby has foot contact with something. So for example, let's say the baby was on the other breast. One of the other options you have, here, let's bring the baby's body down this way. No, you stay where you are.
You stay comfortable.
Yeah.
First is
here, let me put this in here.
Adjust your body. Then we're going to adjust the baby.
So see, this would be another way. If you had a cesarean, you could have the baby kind of coming off the side like that. But the baby's feet need to be in contact with either you or with something soft nearby, so that we've got the pillow for that. Because when the baby's feet are touching something, then that helps to orient the baby and it helps to trigger the reflexes in the best way. So those are the two parts of adjusting your body and adjusting your baby. And then the third adjustment, which sometimes you don't need to use, is adjust your breast. And you can use breast shaping. You've got the breast models over there. Here you go. So for example, if your baby's like sort of bobbing around and having a hard time latching, what you can do is you can squeeze the breast just a little bit to make it easier. You know how when you have a sandwich that's bigger than your mouth, you kind of squeeze it down, you know, so that you can get a better mouthful. That can help with the baby too. If the breast is really rounded and the baby needs you just to squeeze a little bit so that it makes it easier for him to get his mouth around it. So sometimes you might need that, sometimes you might not. But adjusting your breast. So adjust your body, adjust your baby, adjust your breast, and those are the three.
Like, do you just kind of make sure that it's all, I don't know how to ask this question. like you said, like adjusting yourself, like you would just gently put your hand there?
Yeah.
And that would just ease things for the baby?
It could. Like just a little gentle squeeze
Okay.
might just make it easier for the baby to get his mouth around it. Because if it's a real, like this breast here is really round, and sometimes babies just kind of struggle to get a mouthful of it.
Okay.
And so if you squeeze it down a little bit, then the baby can get the mouthful just a little bit easier that way. So that would be the third adjustment.
Now let's see natural breastfeeding in action with some real mothers and babies. You may notice that mothers with different body types make slightly different adjustments with how much they scoot their hips forward or how they angle their babies. Whether breasts are small, medium, or large, newborns and new mothers usually find this technique easier and more comfortable. First, Brianna demonstrates the type of natural breastfeeding position that works best for her and her 3-week-old baby boy, Brian. Watch as she adjusts her body, adjusts her baby, and adjusts her breast.
Okay. All right. So Brianna, you have a 3-week-old baby and you've had some practice with natural breastfeeding positions. So we're going to talk about the 3 adjustments that we make with natural breastfeeding: adjust your body, adjust your baby, and adjust your breast. So let's start with adjust your body. So when you are using a position like this, you know, what are some of the positions you like and how do you get comfortable?
Well, I like to, most importantly, I like to kind of lay back, you know, because it just makes it easier and like less pain or aggravation from my arms trying to hold the baby up. So I do like to be on the pillows.
Okay.
Maybe have something right here for my neck. I mean, depending on what kind of couch you're on, if it's necessary. And then I'm normally right-handed, but you know, when you do switch, I just put them on this side. That way, when I do have him tummy to tummy straight down, if he does kind of want to lay a little bit on his side, he's like along this way. So this feels good.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. So you find the pillows or cushions or whatever that really lets you relax all your muscles, and this might be one of the positions. So
Yes.
so let's have your mom bring in your baby. So then if you're adjusting his body, then how might you like him straight up and down like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I can still see him too, like this.
Oh, he's ready to latch on, so go ahead.
At least our ears will fit. Doing the little hand thing.
So the third thing you might want to adjust is adjust your breast. So why don't you try squeezing it in a little bit for him, because that might make it a little easier for him to latch on. Sometimes that helps babies, especially in the first few weeks. So did he get on?
He's on.
Okay, great. Yeah, because it looked like he was having a little trouble there for a minute. Sometimes with the round breast, it's a little harder to get a grip. And so the little bit of breast shaping that you did looked like it was perfect for him to get on well. So you got your body adjusted, and can you relax all your muscles?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Nancy suggests Brianna think of natural breastfeeding positions as the same positions she uses when watching her favorite shows on TV. The best variations are those in which you can relax all of your muscles.
Here, let's see if this helps at all. Can you lean your head back down? Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I've got another one that's a little cushier here. Does that work? Okay, good.
It's back.
Good. Because just like when you watch TV, you know, you want to get into a position where you can really relax all your muscles. And I noticed that with his head, you know, you're giving him some head support there with your arm on the other side. That, you know, he leans over a little bit. His nose is completely away from your breast, so he's not going to have any trouble breathing in that position.
And I thought I would have that problem too, because I can't stand when I hear like the little wheezing sound. So it's like, oh no, let me move around some more. Because I know like when I do this position, I don't hear that sound compared to like really having them up close like this as well. Even if it's not the more common position, but it was just one of the other positions that I looked up as well. Even with just holding with one arm sideways, like I like the way he just hangs down.
Nancy coaches Michelle as she gets into a natural breastfeeding position for the first time with her 2-week-old baby Vivian. Michelle has been having problems with sore nipples, especially on the left side. She has started pumping because the pain while nursing has become too intense. She's been using the cross-cradle position, so she starts with her arms in that position, as gravity helps Vivian latch on the less sore right breast. With a few adjustments, Michelle can relax all of her muscles.
All right, so here, let me put her on you. Then, like I say, you can just bring. So she's doing a lot of head bobbing there, and that's part of her. Yeah, she knows what to do. And you can adjust her body position in any way that feels comfortable for you. She could come if it's more comfortable for you to bring her over this way. That's fine. She's a strong little girl, huh?
Stay long, she's lifting her head. There you go.
Now, if you bring your arm around under her head, then you can relax your arm. Because part of the idea here is for you to be comfortable.
So don't even massage the breast or anything?
You can do whatever you like.
Just with the other arm.
So how does that feel?
It feels pretty comfortable.
Good.
Now comes the moment of truth. It's time to try to get Vivian on the really sore breast. Michelle has been pumping instead of nursing on that side for a couple of days. Nancy's voiceover explains what's happening as Michelle tries different adjustments until she finds the combination that works well for them.
Michelle decides to try to nurse Vivian on her really sore breast for the first time in a couple of days. She starts by putting Vivian in more of a cradle position, and this confuses Vivian because it puts more pressure on her side and back rather than on her front. Vivian's tummy is not resting on Michelle, and Vivian is still struggling. Michelle rolls Vivian into a more tummy down position and adjusts Vivian's angle across her body until they're both comfortable. Now she's in a natural breastfeeding position. This touch activates the pressure points on her chest, abdomen, and the inside of Vivian's knees. One option Michelle could try is to stimulate Vivian's feet because Vivian is trying to get foot contact. Michelle moves on to adjusting her breast. Just pushing on the top of her breast helps, but doesn't quite do it. Putting her whole hand around her breast and squeezing horizontally so Vivian can get her mouth around the breast finally does the trick. Michelle has adjusted her body, adjusted her baby, and adjusted her breast.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because usually when you get to the comfort zone, if there is some damage.
So much better.
Good.
Because I would be holding it the whole time and
Yeah.
kicking my feet like, this hurts
Uh-huh.
for like a minute, and then I'd be like, okay. So this is already like past that.
Yeah, if you already have some damage, even if you get it in the comfort zone, it might not still feel 100% comfortable, but just like what you described, if it feels way better, you've gotten there.
Oh, this is the position for us. Oh my goodness, so much better. Yay. Yeah, and if she was on there very shallow, that's probably how I got backed up.
Exactly. Because if your nipple is compressed against her hard palate, then that's what causes the damage. And if you can feel with your tongue in your own mouth, if you go back beyond your hard palate, you'll notice it starts to turn soft, and that's near where the comfort zone is. So if you can get your nipple back there, then there's no friction or pressure. And then, as I say, you can keep nursing and yet still heal. But if every time you put her on, you get that compression, then that's going to continue to hurt and maybe even cause trauma, cracks or bleeding or whatever. So the good news is it's a fixable problem. So sometimes moms just think, well, you know, soreness is a normal part of breastfeeding, and it really isn't. It's really a sign that some adjustment is needed. Mm-hmm. I would say the only soreness that might be considered normal would be maybe some discomfort in the first minute or two during the first 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. But if it's throughout the feeding, or if it's between feedings, or you know, if it's lasting longer than that, then that really is a sign that some adjustment is needed.
Up to now, we've shown natural breastfeeding positions in an easy chair and a couch. In this clip, Janine gets comfortable by snuggling up sideways in a wing chair. Watch as she flips 3-week-old Timothy over onto his tummy. She's making sure her baby's abdomen and chest face directly down with no gaps. Your arms and hands should be free to caress your baby, check your phone, or have a snack. Being fully tummy down is the key to making natural breastfeeding a newborn work.
You're hungry, well, yours.
Yeah, those are definitely feeding cues.
Really? You silly one. Put your arm over here. There. Are you comfy?
That's great. He loves to look at you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the learning part.
I think he can see me better like this than if I were to be sitting up and holding him.
Yes.
Like I would if I was feeding him a bottle.
Yes.
Yeah. He's like looking upwards at the ceiling instead of towards me.
You are right, and he's actually the perfect distance. You know, the baby's vision is not as good as it will be, but the one area that they can see in is actually the distance between the breast and your face. Mm-hmm. Not surprising that nature made them that way, huh?
Right. It makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Because Janine is smaller breasted, a more upright position works well for her. Scoot your hips forward so your body makes a slope for your baby. Or you can stretch out to almost flat. The first step in natural breastfeeding is adjust your body. As long as you are fully relaxed and your body makes a slope for your baby, many variations are effective and comfortable. Because a newborn's head is so large, it's best to avoid lying completely flat on your back with your baby's head lower than her body. It's better to use a pillow or two, as Janine demonstrates in this photograph. Now let's see what happens with a larger breasted mother. Essie, who is pregnant in our first clip, returns with her 2-week-old son, Carlos. When she gave birth, the hospital lactation consultant taught her the football rugby hold. When she got home, she struggled with nipple pain and tried the natural breastfeeding positions. It's what we see that we think of as normal, and that's why watching a video can help these positions feel more natural. Watch how a small adjustment is able to transform stressful breastfeeding into successful breastfeeding. Once again, notice, if you can't lift your arms, then you're probably using them to support the baby. Newborns instinctually move towards pressure, which helps them latch in natural breastfeeding positions, but creates confusion when there's pressure on the back of their head or spine from their mother's arms. So be sure your baby is fully tummy down.
Let me just scoot my hips forward and let's see how that works. Okay.
You know, we always advise that, but while you're pregnant, that you look around your own house and figure out your hot spots, like your bed, favorite chair, sofa, so that you have the right pillows to do that. But this is good because you have to work through a new spot in front of everyone.
So am I leaning back far enough, or should I lean back further?
Well, I think you can go by your comfort and see. Okay. We can see when he gets on your body how that's working, because we want to make sure that he's able to rest fully on your body. Okay. So we're going to do it that way. Okay. So here, you want to try? Might need the pillow over on this side. Here you go. Relax. So how does that feel? Does he feel like he's on your body? Is he fully resting on you, or do you need to scooch forward a little bit more?
No, I think we're good.
Oh yeah? Okay, well that worked out really well.
Right?
Yeah.
First try.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people think that women who are large-breasted just simply can't use these positions, but I think you're a wonderful demonstration that that's not the case. I mean, you know, women whose breasts are a little bit lower, they might not have their babies in that straight up and down position. You know, you might do it, you could do it more diagonally or straight across like you have. Whoops. He says, I need to adjust a little bit.
Yeah.
But you've got lots of options. You know, when you were pregnant and we talked about, you know, he could even go over your shoulder, which probably in most cases is not something you would do, but there's lots of different ways to go about it, and it looks like he's handling that really well. I like the way he's got his hand there, because his hands are part of his GPS, and that helps him to stimulate your milk production and also just to feel secure where he is.
Yeah, well, I noticed that I can't see his face completely, but I know he's comfortable because he's feeding amazing. And I'm comfortable because I can use both my hands.
That's wonderful.
Which is nice because in a lot of other positions you're constricted and you can't really, you know, like at this point if I had other kids, which I don't, but if I had other kids I'd be able to tend to other kids, or I'd be able to, you know, do something on a computer if I needed to.
Right.
So it's just really nice. And being larger breasted, that's what I thought at first, was that I wasn't going to be able to. But I mean, the only thing that I can't do is see a larger portion of his face.
Right, because your breast is rounded, and so that sort of prevents you from looking into his eyes. But yeah, obviously he's doing very well in that position, and it looks like he is completely resting on you, which is great.
No,
So that takes a lot of the burden off in terms of supporting his weight, because a lot of moms, they think early breastfeeding is so much work because they really are straining their arms by holding their baby, and that's not something you have to do in these positions.
Yeah, he wasn't a big baby when he was born, but I can't imagine somebody having like a 9-10 pound baby and having to hold him up like this. That just sounds like a lot of stress.
So one of the things that you mentioned was that, you know, because you had been taught at the hospital to breastfeed this other way, you hadn't really mastered the natural positions. So you had given it a try at home and found it to be challenging. But now obviously you're doing really well with it. So maybe you could share, you know, what it was that was different about what you did at home and what you're doing here, and, you know, what adjustments you found to be helpful.
Well, I was noticing that he was like, I know in the previous videos, Teresa said that it was like breast boxing, because he was like fighting me on it, and he was kicking his feet and he was pushing against me, and it was like he didn't want to. He was so hungry and he was getting so frustrated, and I was getting frustrated, and I was trying to feed him and I couldn't. At the end, it wasn't that I wasn't leaning far enough back, because when I was at home, I was still partially sitting up and holding him up. But right now, I am not even holding him. He's just resting on me. And I think that was the problem. That was the problem.
So you think the trick then was you just needed to move your hips forward a little bit more and lean back a little more and have more of gravity helping.
Yeah.
Because he was still struggling against gravity, even though you were leaning back a little ways.
Yeah. And in the other videos, some of the other women were smaller breasted than I was. And they were sitting up a little bit higher.
Yes.
So when I was seeing those, I was like, oh, well, they're sitting up higher.
Right.
That's how I'm supposed to sit. But being larger breasted, I needed to just lean my body back further and tweak how I'm made. And tweak how he's made.
Yes.
To better suit us.
Right, so it's like two pieces of a puzzle. You know, I think I mentioned that to you before, where every mother has to find their own way. And in your case, your nipples are a little bit further down on your breast, so having him straight up and down isn't necessarily going to be a practical position for him. And having you lean back a little bit more, because your nipples are a little bit more closer to the underside of your breast, then that allows the gravity to help in a way that works for the two of you. So, you know, someone else might be able, I know we had a video of Janine with her baby Timothy, and she was sitting in a wing chair, and that worked really well. She just kind of flipped him over and put him on, but for you, because of the way your breasts are made, that might not be a position that works as well for you. So everybody's got to find their own way, but there isn't just one right way that has to be for everyone.
As they recover from birth, many new mothers find the bed the most comfortable place to be with their newborn. Here Nancy explains to Michelle why it doesn't hurt when baby helps, because in natural breastfeeding positions, gravity helps a newborn control their body. In traditional holds like the cradle, cross cradle, and football holds, newborns and moms often struggle because gravity is working against them. You'll be amazed at how much stronger your baby will be in a month or so. Then the more traditional holds work better, and like experienced dance partners, you will easily handle more complex moves.
I've noticed with when I do the cross cradle sitting up, I definitely need to help her get on.
Yes.
And sometimes I have to relatch her, but so far with this position, she's pretty much found it on her own all the time, and everything's felt comfortable so far.
Well, that's right. You know, my opinion is, you know, a lot of what goes wrong with breastfeeding is because we've come out of an era where bottle feeding was the norm. And so sometimes, even subconsciously, not realizing it, we try to translate what we know about bottle feeding to breastfeeding. And it just doesn't work very well. And so I think what's happened is a lot of the positions that we've taught where mothers are sitting straight up, you know, either the baby's in front of them or on their side or whatever, basically these are bottle feeding positions or variations of them. And because that's what we've been used to seeing for a couple of generations. But we're beginning to realize now that these more natural positions are completely different from bottle feeding positions. Because of course you couldn't possibly bottle feed a baby in this position. Whereas, you know, some of the other, like the cradle and the cross cradle and the football, you know, certainly you could bottle feed. And what makes it challenging in those positions, the reason she can't really help is because gravity is pulling her down and away from you. And so that is why you have most of the responsibility, because you're fighting the effects of gravity. You know, you have to be the one that ensures she gets on deeply. You have to make sure she stays pressed against you so she knows what she's doing and you know, how to nurse. And so it's really a lot more of it is on your shoulders when you're fighting gravity. But in these positions she can help, and that does take a lot of the burden off of you. And as you can see, it also eliminates a lot of the struggle. Because the very same reflexes that babies are born with that help them get to the breast, if you put them in a position where gravity is working against them, they can actually become barriers to breastfeeding. So the arm cycling that helps the babies make their way up the breast suddenly becomes, you know, batting at the breast. And, you know, the mothers have told me over the years, I don't think I have enough hands to breastfeed, because they're fighting the baby's arms and they're fighting the baby's legs. And yet if you put a baby on top of you like this, then those very same reflexes actually help them get to the breast and feed. So you know, just a very simple adjustment of position like that can make a huge difference in terms of how easy or difficult breastfeeding is, especially in the beginning. You know, the good news is as you and your baby get more practice, of course, it gets easier and more automatic, and you know, your baby starts to get more head and neck control and just more coordinated. So, you know, after the early weeks, you know, it doesn't really matter so much how you breastfeed. You'll find, you know, it's very easy. But in the beginning, when you're learning, I think these positions are kind of like the training wheels on a bicycle, where, you know, it just is it's a way to make it easier for you while you're learning.
Here, Dr. Teresa explains the pressure buttons and how they help newborns latch and feed better. So natural breastfeeding positions are the ones that we try and help moms get started off with when the baby has very little ability to control their head. And I know one of the things that you mentioned was, by having looked, is that you sort of understood you needed to lean back and put the baby on, but when you held Carlos like that, he was on you and touching you, but if you had removed your arm, he would probably have rolled away from you. Yeah. And so if you don't mind, while he's here, so we can kind of demonstrate a few of the things that help moms know that the baby's really on there, one of the easiest tricks is to just spread their legs a little bit so they're a little bit like this. And we call that frog leg. And you had said something about the feet, that you noticed he likes the support.
Yeah. Whether he's in this position or...
Oh, sorry to disappoint you. Never, when it's not broken, don't try and fix it. But sometimes when the baby, because he was actually quite well situated and he was tummy down, but they can look like they're tummy down and not be tummy down. Right. And sometimes the easiest adjustment, if they're struggling around, is to just lift up right in the little diaper area and spread their legs a little bit so that they're kind of plastered on you a little bit like a frog. Yeah. Because there's these little areas inside babies' knees, on the tops of their feet, on the bottoms of their feet, where the pressure buttons, yes. And on the front of their ribs. When those are activated, those pressure buttons, then the baby's able to open up and latch very deeply. Right. So I think that we kind of think about these things in the wrong way, although in natural breastfeeding we say, adjust your body, adjust your baby, adjust your breast, and we put breast last, but in our mind, because it's breastfeeding, yeah. We still think breast first. So we think the baby is like, why is the baby going like this when it's right there? And you want to go, it's right there, it's right there. Mm-hmm. But your baby isn't looking for your breast, your baby's looking for your body. Right. So it's that contact. When that contact is established, that's the thing that helps them be able to latch. Mm-hmm. So it isn't really finding the breast like it's a bottle. And that's where we get lost. In closing, Dr. Teresa goes over some basics to think about and explains how to use a simple checklist in case there is a problem. Gravity, gaps, and gaze. And don't forget, frog legs and foot contact. So there's one last thing I want to show you about that's important as a checklist. So things are going pretty well for you, but this can help some people who don't know why the baby's wheeling and boxing like that. Yeah. So if you can sit up for me, just in regular traditional, trying to hold the baby next to you and bringing up. Let's give you this little tiny baby here. And you see, now you're going to have to bring that baby up. These babies are not going to nurse well if there's any gaps between the front of their body and your body. Mm. So the check is, are there any gaps? When you're laying down, it's a lot easier to have no gaps. So we want the baby to have gravity to hold them in place, no gaps, and you should be able to look at them. So let's take the baby and you lay back down again the way you did before and see how much easier it is. Now gravity, which is that, is going to hold that baby right there. And you see, you don't have to do anything. And even a real baby, it's going to stick even better. Mm-hmm. But you want no gaps so that the baby's front is against you, and that it's easier with the real baby again. Let's use this bigger baby because I can at least push on his back. Is that in this position you see that the baby, you can see the baby's face. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. And that you don't have to, but it's very nice. One simple breastfeeding technique can prevent pain, bump up your milk production, and ensure easier latching. Natural breastfeeding takes advantage of those innate abilities and responses that are unique to newborns. With their large heads and limited muscular control, babies do much better when they have gravity helping them stabilize. Moms do much better as well because they don't need to exhaust themselves by using their arms to keep their baby close. Natural breastfeeding is like training wheels. Gain confidence and avoid the painful bumps while you are learning. We didn't invent it, but we do think video is a great way to reintroduce this somewhat neglected technique for nursing a newborn. Natural breastfeeding for an easier start.